Hello, Acres of Diamonds audience. I am Scott Gibbs, Acres of Diamonds co-founder, here with DJ Ligori, the other co-founder, and we are here to talk about Daily Diamond number 31, which is a follow-up to Helena Chamberlain's podcast we did on Tuesday. And very specifically, DJ mentioned something during that podcast that we thought was well worth getting into in a little more detail, and that is comparing ourselves to other people versus comparing ourselves to ourselves. And DJ, you made a very interesting reference. I think you used a baby crawling up the stairs could have that be a number 9 challenge for that baby, and then a seal going into a fighting condition, or a rescue mission that could be his number 8 or 9 level of challenge. What were you kind of trying to get at there, and could you give us a little more detail and insight to what you believe?
Yeah, so I think the quote that I use and that I heard this was actually from Trevor Moawad, Neutral Thinking, his book, and he said challenges are completely relative to the people who face them. So all of our challenges based upon our lives are completely unique to us. They're our challenges, and the way that I once was talking to a friend about another individual who had some challenges in her life, and she basically said she thinks that's challenging, and I was like, yeah, according to her life, given her situations, these are the aspects of her life that she finds challenging. And she basically said, well, that's not challenging in my life. These are the challenges in mine. And there was some different levels of severity in the challenges. And so I basically said, listen, the challenges in this individual's life compared to the challenges in your life, we can never compare those ever, because we all are completely different people coming from completely different backgrounds with completely different beliefs and ideas. So what I might think is hard, waking up in the morning and going and working out, I might not think that's hard at all, but other people might think that's extremely difficult. But yet we've grown to be immune to it, to adapt to it. So I think what a good thing to kind of talk about is we need to be respectful of other challenges in people's lives, because it's completely their challenge. So, never judge anybody based upon the challenges that they have overcome, because they did it. They overcame the challenge, or maybe they're still working on overcoming that challenge. Maybe motivate them, maybe, inspire them a little bit to try to achieve that challenge. But I think that's something important that we all should take into consideration is, respecting the challenges of people's lives.
I think that's a great insight. What do you think about? And I've struggled with what I'm about to say in the past, and I'd like to get your thought on this. There was a period in my life where I compared myself to other people, and said, okay, if this person's doing X, Y, Z, then I'm not doing nearly enough. I should be doing X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is, in reflecting upon that, they were at a different, they had different life experiences, different thoughts and beliefs, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
But I was comparing myself to them, and I'll tell you, DJ, it wasn't very productive. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that is basically like a facade of a facade of a comparison almost, because you're basically trying to compare yourself to something you don't really know. I mean, we could say, you could say, yes, I know this person very well. I know where they came from, what a good idea of some of the things they believe in, but we don't necessarily know their financial status, or we don't know maybe, something they struggled with last week that's now completely changed their frame of mind about something. I think a lot of times we talk about the fear of the unknown. Fear of the unknown, I have the unknown about this individual. So how can I compare myself to them? And it ultimately boils down to, if I can't compare myself to anybody else, who do you compare yourself to?
So
Well,
what's the answer to that?
I would personally say no one, because I mean, I could say I can compare myself to myself. And maybe that's the answer I'm looking for, but comparing yourself to others, I think, leads you down a path that might not be who you are. And comparing yourself to yourself or no one makes you think more about, all right, what do I actually want to do? Not based upon what X, Y, and Z or what this person has done. It's a little bit of self-care. It's a little bit of looking inside yourself and saying, what are my beliefs about me? What are my beliefs about who I am and who I want to be? And I think it's ultimately diving into your personal culture a little bit. I think we can have people of our lives shape who we are. Most definitely. I think that's 100% real. But at the end of the day, we're the ones who have to decide the actions that come from that molding and that influencement. So I think if we're going to compare ourselves to anybody, maybe it's just ourselves then. Maybe that's the answer I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think that's my answer. I mean, after I went through a period of life where I compare myself to, I took the best attribute of every friend and
Mm-hmm.
said, well, I'm not as good as this person in that. I'm not as good as that, as this person in this, and blah, blah, blah. So I had 6 or 7 different attributes from 6 or 7 different friends, and I created this Superman and could never, compare to that person, right? I drove myself crazy because I was never going to be that person. That was impossible. I just built this avatar that I would never live up to. Since then, I've been really focused on what you just came to the conclusion about, which is, look, I'm going to be very clear on what my culture is. I'm going to be very clear on what I want, period.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to try to make measurable progress over reasonable time towards that vision I have for myself. That's it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to compare myself today to who I was yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Get a little bit. I always remember Coach Sapani said, one of the first things I remember saying, he said, our goal every day at practice is to get as any amount better than we were yesterday. He said, if it's a tenfold, that's awesome. If it's a onefold, that's not as great as a tenfold, but we still improved some bit.
Right.
So there's every day is another day of a very small opportunity for improvement. And there's something too that I real quick that I thought was very important. I saw a video a couple days ago. Jack Anton actually sent it to me about perfection, and it was actually Gary V was the one who did the video, and he basically said, do not ever try to achieve perfection because perfection is completely relative to everybody else. So what I think might be perfect, you might not think be perfect. And, remember one of the rules that I said is I don't really like even saying the word perfect because I don't think it necessarily exists.
Right.
Because, we all have our own idea of it. So, don't wait until something is completely 100% perfect as can be, because then you might miss actually the people who thought it was perfect a month ago. So
right.
it's kind of, I thought that was impressive to think about because, we're always striving to be so better than we were yesterday, but you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be, you don't need to dot every I and cross every T. We're going to make mistakes. We're human beings. And I think it's important that we are okay with that.
Awesome. And I think on that note, we can call it a night. DJ, well said. I appreciate it. Yeah, let's not compare ourselves to other people. Let's compare ourselves to who we were yesterday and make that measurable progress over a reasonable time.
Hell yeah. Love it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Have a
you.
great night.
You too.